Thank you for joining me. My name is Jerrel Dulay. I develop video games for a living. In the past, I worked as industry consultant in public relations, digital technology, and brand and product development. In this video, I hope to address Square Enix directly regarding the recent group customer harassment policy announced on January 10th, 2025. I would also like to address my fellow gamers directly later in this video. Today, I hope to offer advice and counsel regarding this situation. As a long-time customer of your products in the past, I will waive my customary fee, as I do not want to see your brand be negatively affected by this latest business decision. For those listeners unaware of the situation, Square Enix has recently announced a policy that explains they will deny service and support and even take legal action or criminal proceedings toward customers who exhibit undesirable behavior, such as discriminatory speech, persistent inquiries, or asking for too much change in a video game. The details of this policy contain vague language that may allow for an overreach in interpretation and application. It cannot be understated that this is a very bad idea. Square Enix. As an industry consultant, I am telling you, this is a very bad idea. While this policy appears to be well-intentioned, it will build a sense of distrust toward your customers and a lack of resilience toward criticism. Any public action taken by a company like this is not merely an action. It is a message with many layers beyond the surface-level words. This harassment policy is dangerous in many ways. For your own business, your brand, you will be criticized. Gamers will see this as a sign of weakness, not strength. If you tell someone they cannot do something they were previously allowed to do, and you forbid them from doing it, what do you think will happen? People will feel compelled to do the thing that you have forbidden even further. You will see an exacerbation in actual harassment. You will have people afraid to offer constructive criticism for fear of having action taken against them. You will be viewed as an entity that cannot be trusted or communicated with, and customers will grow distant. Because you have framed this policy as protecting diversity, equity, and inclusion, people will grow even further resentful toward marginalized people, such as those who are not straight. You have created a situation that is causing people to further resent and vocalize hatred toward marginalized people, and you have unknowingly used marginalized people as human shields. You have created personally the problem you claim to be fighting against. Secondly, this policy sets a dangerous precedent in the games industry. You may be well-meaning with this policy, but there are no checks or balances to prevent this policy from being abused in the future. Other developers and publishers will follow your example, and they may not be well-meaning. They will follow your example of harassment policy, but they will use it to justify silencing any form of critique or genuine request from paying customers. Industries are built on the backs of giants, but no giant lives forever. As giants must eventually sit down to rest, they are slaughtered by greedy businessmen who care only about making money as quickly and easily as possible. The road that this harassment policy paves will lead to a place of distrust, resentment, and corporate malpractice in the games industry. So how should the situation of further criticism online be handled? This is a complex and difficult issue. A potential reasonable approach would be compartmentalization. A dedicated public relations department with public relations officers should be responsible for dealing directly with the public. It is the job of the public relations department to protect the actual developers and artists by receiving the brunt of any genuine critique, request, or attack and harassment. This department must filter out the genuine requests and constructive criticism from the harassment. It must not be the job of any developer to have to perform that task themselves. This will lead to demoralization that has led to this harassment policy. This policy is an action to silence people. Look back upon the long history of our culture. People do not respond positively to being silenced. This is a very expensive mistake to make, with a price you may not ever be able to pay. It is not too late to revise your policy, to make it more specific, to make it clear you want to prioritize hearing constructive feedback from your customers, while excluding language that is overly aggressive. To offer personal advice from one human to another. Life is tough. There are people out there who are just bad people. They will say terrible things to you. They will do terrible things. Get over it. If you are not strong enough to handle insults over the internet, then get stronger. If you are not enough of an adult to hear criticism of your work and not let it affect your creative output, then grow up. Only children let name-calling and insults affect them. As a professional, I would not hire children to work in my game development studio. I trust that you do not either. So there should not be a reason why name-calling and insults over the internet should negatively affect your creative output and work. This harassment policy will only lead to misuse and abuse in the games industry. Accept the fact that some people are just bad, and those people will insult you. You must also accept the fact that sometimes you will do a bad job with your games, and you must trust your audience to tell you that when the time is right. It is your job to understand the difference between those people. As an industry leader, you have a responsibility to understand the long-term consequences of your actions. I trust that you will make better considerations in regards to policies like this in the future. Lastly, to my fellow gamers, a few bad apples do indeed ruin the bunch. There are people out there who are just not good and probably never will be. As we have seen over the internet time and time again, the rest of us will always get labeled and grouped together with those bad apples. We will be called names. Our voices will be silenced. I will ask you a personal favor. Stay strong, remain calm, and find a way to make your voice heard. We do not need to engage in name-calling or petty squabbles on the internet. Even if other people are terrible to you, treat them with respect. Not because it earns you likes or subscribers, not because it is good for business, but because it is the right thing to do, and others are watching you and learning from you. Throwing tantrums is for children, but gaming is for everyone. Thank you for listening. Gamers first.